not go well. I was out and about in a bar. Everybody was very excited. The energy, the electricity was fantastic. When they showed Flo Balogun before the game even started, the place erupted. Of course, the Americans on a brilliant Tillman goal pull even for mere moments, and the place was ablaze. I mean, everybody really wanted last night to be something for U.S. soccer, and it just didn't happen. They got outclassed.
They did, and this is, a cursory look at it, and you'd go, yeah, I've seen this before. They didn't make it in 2018, which, by the way, we should never forget. That's unbelievable. That's such a disgrace. To not qualify out of CONCACAF is absurd, but whatever. That's not what we're talking about right now. The last 4 times they've gone to the World Cup, they've gone to the round of 16 and pretty much have lost to a European nation. They lost to Ghana in 2010, but it was Belgium in 2014. It was the Netherlands in 2016, Belgium again here in 2026. And if you just are a tourist and you stopped in, you saw it, you go, yep, it's the same, and then you move on. It's frustrating. It sucks to get destroyed in that way. And they were outclassed from the jump. There's no hiding behind that. There's no other way around that. Belgium was better in every way you could be better. The U.S. stars, the guys that needed to be great, were simply not. I can't remember the exact numbers, so forgive me if I'm butchering them, but just, in watching all the coverages as everyone else did, I think 3 of Pulisic's first 5 touches were direct turnovers, just like a heavy-footed, clunky rec player, not a world-class guy that's supposed to lead you in a game like that. Here's the analysis, though, I'd like to offer just real quick, and then I'll tag you back in. If you saw the group phase, and then you saw the way that they beat these teams that they used to be like, the U.S. was the plucky bunch of underdogs, rough and tumble, American grit. You'd win some 1-0 game or 2-1 game over a slightly favored opponent, and there'd be lots of talk about don't mess with the USA and whatever, and then they'd go up against a real opponent, and just it was obvious. Well, I know that's what happened last night too, but if you watch them play in that group stage and then against Bosnia, a lot of part of this tournament, for the first time in my lifetime, they actually played the way the teams that have a real shot to win this thing played. Stylistically, with enough. And it's not just like, hey, let's try to attack. You can attack with players that can't do it. But with the creativity, the dynamic offensive, pushing the ball forward, being able to always move and create triangles and different options for players, and the offensive creativity, they played like a Brazil, like a Spain, like a Portugal, like some of these teams that can really win it. Now, they're not good enough yet. They're good enough to beat the bad teams, good enough to beat teams they're better than, but this was the first time, to me, they started to walk a path that might lead to something different than this result that happened last night.
Yeah, sports get covered in a way now where everything has to be an extreme, and the loss yesterday is now going to be a referendum where somebody's going to look at this and say, in the round of 16, you lost 4-1. And 4 years ago in 2022, in the round of 16 against Netherlands, you lost 3-1. And in 2014, in the round of 16 against Belgium, the same opponent, you lost 2-1. And in 2010 against Ghana in the round of 16, you lost 2-1. And I digress, and you could go back further and further and further. And they're going to say this was not a progression, right? There was no major leap. I don't really see it that way. I do believe this was the best that they've looked. Last night, to me, resembled the U.S. national teams that I remember watching a lot of World Cup games. You're clearly not as good as the opponent, and you're being outclassed, and you're playing up a weight class or two. The 4-1 win against Paraguay, go back through their history in the annals of the World Cup. They've never scored 4 goals.
They don't do that.
Literally, they never have. The 2-0 win against Australia in a game that could have gone either way. I know they were favored in that game, but there were a lot of bigger upsets for really good teams in this tournament. Mm-hmm. And they didn't get upset, and they didn't give up a goal. Argentina just beat Egypt 3-2. They had to come back from down 2-0. There have been Belgium in its last game, remember?
At the very
against
end,
Senegal was down multiple goals and had to come roaring back. Like, they just handled their business and circuit to circuit, shut down and dominated Australia. The Turkey game I don't even really necessarily count because they basically redshirted the game with a lot of their best players, but they still almost won that one. They were 3-0 in the games they cared about prior to last night. So I think it can absolutely be true that this was a significant step, that they are closer, that soccer in the United States of America from a world stage standpoint is in a much better place. And also, they played like crap last night. Like, they just did. Too many of their players didn't play their best game. They never had a shot. They committed too many gaffes. You mentioned Palisco came up small. I mean, in the net, a horrible mistake. Like, that was an embarrassing goal allowed by Freeze, and then Ream wasn't able to make a play as kind of the last man on defense. This is when the night ended last night. It was a one-goal game, second half. You're still thinking there's a lot of time. They can figure this out.
They're getting outplayed, but maybe, ... Nope.
And then you have one of the true blooper moments of the whole tournament.
Walter is the one who's...
Richards beaten out of the air. Freeze has got to get there and deal with it. He takes it down off the chest to Ketelaar and knocks it away. Tim Ream can't block it. And unless video review says this is a foul from behind on Ream, it is a...
So if there's something discouraging about last night to me, it's that it had to be embarrassing in that way.
Yeah.
Like, it had to be in flames where you're going, what in the heck was that? Just lose normally. Lose a 3-1 game without any goals like that. That was the disheartening part. But otherwise, this was the best I've seen them. If you're searching for 3 wins in a World Cup, you're not going to find it. If you're searching for goal differential like the one they had coming into this game, you're not going to find it. So people can make this some big referendum that nothing's changed. They always get to the round of 16. I think that's lazy analysis. That's silly. This was and felt different for much of this stretch. Are they good enough, Danny, to be in the Elite 8 right now, among the best 8 in the world? I guess not, but they're somewhere between 8 and 16.
Yep.
You don't get to have a tournament now to see where you seed among that group. They held serve. They got about to where they should have, but in doing so, they were dominant enough that it makes you think maybe they're on to something.
Yeah, you go look at, again, the previous times. Go back to 2010, for example. Draw, that 1-0 dramatic win to send them through to the knockout round when Landon Donovan scored in the last couple of minutes. And it wasn't like a great play. It was like kind of a weird fracas in front on a counterattack. It wasn't because they were better than Algeria. Algeria, right? That's kind of the level we're talking about. They're feeding from scraps. Ghana beat them 2-1 in the following round. Then, 2014, again, they lost to Belgium, where they barely got out of the group phase, a win and a draw, eking these games out, barely getting through to the next round. They're like third-place team that has to wait for a goal differential and a couple tiebreakers. Sometimes they finish second in the group. They steamrolled their first 2 opponents who are kind of shadows of what they used to be. And that, to me, is the instructive part here. How it happened matters to me so much more. Again, they went up against a world power. Belgium, I don't think is going to win the whole thing, but they're plenty good enough. They didn't go with some of the old guys that have been struggling throughout this tournament. Kevin De Bruyne didn't play last night, and a couple of other guys that are on the older side who have been struggling sat, and some of their young up-and-comers played, and they ran circles around the U.S. They had, to me, they scouted incredibly well, they were coached incredibly well, and all the protestations out in public that the coach was doing, making it about Balogun and how aggrieved everybody was. Behind the scenes, what they were doing is, this is how the U.S. is going to attack us, and here are our answers. And they were in every channel, every passing lane, waiting. Every time the ball went to the wing, where in previous games it was a one-on-one festival, and Des could be creative, and you could see runs from Tyler Adams and Anthony Robinson, and non-existent. No. 0 threats. The U.S. had 0 threat last night.
But they scored 11 goals in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They scored 3 in 2022. Think about that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
They were +3 in goal differential this time. They were minus a goal in goal differential last time. So the notion, like, they got to the round of 16, it's the equivalent of saying, well, I didn't make the playoffs and you didn't make the playoffs, so our season was the same. I have a better record. I have a better run differential. If you're just looking at the result, okay, fine. And by the way, it's not a crime for the team that is fringe top 15 or so in the world to not get into the top 8 in the World Cup. I also think if you play Belgium again right now, it's a different game. I don't think you beat them after seeing that game. I don't know how they were favored. I don't know why they were favored. To me, that seems like it was completely incorrect and maybe just a way to get people to bet on the game. I'm not really sure. But Belgium's clearly better. I mean, they won every race to every ball. Like, I thought the United States, grab the Carly Lloyd analysis from last night.
I thought she was spot on.
She crushed this. This is exactly how I felt. I saw this today, and I was like, yep, that's exactly what I was saying. Now, I don't know anything. She knows a lot and everything, but it just felt like they were timid and nervous, and the team that you saw as the aggressor in every matchup before, they had no time, they had no space. It was almost like they were playing nervous and timid. And maybe that's just that you're worse than Belgium and you were better than the other teams. But this was Carly Lloyd, who is an American women's national team hero on Fox last night.
No, look, it's a bit of a downer for us being out here now after this loss, but I felt like they lost the game before they even stepped out onto the pitch, and I'm not sure why, and I don't know the reasons, but just from the beginning, just chasing, tentative, scared, just not confident on the ball. And I think big-time players, you wanted some of those big-time players to step up in big moments. And I got to be honest, I was a bit disappointed with Christian Pulisic. I think whether he wants to be the star of this team or not, we didn't see enough from him in this particular game and really the whole World Cup. Little glimpses here and there, but, look, aside from this loss, I think on the brighter storyline, it's been a fantastic World Cup. This team has united the country. They have...
She goes on to compliment the United States, but I think her analysis there is correct, which is, summed up, they came up small.
Yeah.
They just looked like they were less prepared, obviously not as talented, but also like they knew they were playing against a team better than them, and they were giving way too much credit to Belgium.
Yeah, or, it's hard to go into the psychology or the brain of every one of the players. I have no idea. She said they looked tentative. My first thought was, did they read all their own press clippings and assume that some sort of, special eagle was going to fly over and they would just steamroll because America?
I wonder if there was not something psychologically, too. When they didn't have Balogun, everyone had talked themselves into, they're probably going to win. It'll be, a toss-up kind of game, 50-50. But remember, they were still minimally favored without Balogun in sportsbooks. And then you got him back. And I know what the storylines were nationally. Oh, it's a bad day to be Belgium.
Yeah, bad day to be from Belgium.
Right? I mean, it's so much of like, we were going to win anyway, but now we have Balogun
Now
back.
we'll double win.
And I wonder if there was this feeling internally for them when they got Balogun back, like they all took a breath of, oxygen and fresh air and go, okay, whew, all right, now we know. Now we're sure.
Because it looked like everyone was sloppy and rusty, and I've seen that. Like if your kids play soccer, when they've gone from basketball season, the first time out, the frost melts, and okay, let's go out and kick the soccer ball for the first time. Looks like they've never seen one. Now, again, that's at the 8-year-old level, but that's what it looked like to me. Their touches were clunky.
So she used the word timid,
yeah.
And I think that's a smarter way to say what I'm about to say, which is like soccer novice guy commentary. I've watched, I don't know how many games in this tournament. They've been on, it seems like a NCAA tournament Thursday every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. And let's say I've watched parts of 15 or 20 of these games. Every time there's a ball in the box, the defending team, meaning the ball is in front of your net, is crawling over bodies and hot coals and nails to get to that ball and clear it from the danger area. It's like hockey, right? You're going to take a penalty or you're going to destroy someone.
Yeah, please get out of there. Please get out of there.
When that first goal was scored and the ball lands, bounces up in the air, nobody plays it, then it's headed into a more dangerous area by Belgium. There were multiple American players kind of standing there going, wonder who's going to get this one? Who's going to handle our business here? You don't see that in any other game. That urgency that you see everywhere else, that, oh my God, the ball's in a dangerous area, by any means necessary. If they get a corner, if they get a throw in from near the corner, whatever happens doesn't matter next as long as the ball's not in front of our net. They're just all standing flat-footed. They did not have the same aggression that they've had in every game and that I've seen in every single tournament game by even the bad teams.
Yeah.
I don't know how that can happen in the biggest game in decades for the United States of America, but it just was what it was.
Agreed.
And it was pretty clear to me, even though the Tillman goal was incredible, and I thought, well, maybe they'll take off now and they'll leave their problems behind them for the few minutes when the game was actually tied. It was pretty clear to me, even when he had scored and it was a tie game, they were the second best team on the field.
Yeah, Belgium scored right away. Right away. And that was their first shot, by the way. That was their first threat, was the foul that happened outside the box. Not even first shot on goal, their first shot. They hadn't created a single opportunity.
They didn't have another shot on goal till there was 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
The first save of the game for Belgium was already a 3-1 game, and there was 6 or 7 minutes left in the game before it became 4-1.
Yeah. And they were, again, totally dominated. And that's the part that's hard to take. To your point, I don't know whether, again, it was being timid. I don't know whether it was the assumption that it's just going to happen for us. Whatever it was, it's a bitter disappointment in that way. And again,
was it that the talent level or just they're not good enough right now? Do you think that's
Great
part
question?
of it?
Because again, you objectively look at all the different players on the U.S. roster that started and played last night. You look at the guys from Belgium, very similar down the line of clubs, right? Are you playing for Milan and Juventus and PSV Eindhoven and going all around the world and contributing?
You love saying PSV Eindhoven.
It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah,
because several of their players
on more shows than you haven't over the last 2 weeks.
Several players from the U.S. play for them, and you go, these are not little second division clubs. These are the multi-billion-dollar ones that play at high levels in these really serious leagues around the world. So talent-wise, you're probably pretty similar. Belgium's more than you, but it's not like it's not 4-1 different. It's not like you're playing against some country that's lucky to be there that's going, we're going to play 11 guys behind the ball, give you the first 2/3 of the field, and pray to God you don't score. But that's how the result looked like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's everything under the sun where Belgium knew how to handle themselves and the U.S. didn't.
There is a ton going on within DC sports that we will get to in just a few, including the Nats offense hanging 12 last night. James Wood hit a grand slam. Brandon Ayuk dropping more commentary on social media. Hey, Mom! We got some Brandon Ayuk social media content to discuss. So we'll do that as well. But I want to open up the phones before we keep it moving. This will close down the soccer portion of the Grant and Danny radio program for the next 4 years or so. How should we be feeling about the American display of soccer here in this tournament, this U.S. team's run? How do you feel about what they did and how far they got and how they played? 800-636-1067.